are you guys? Good? So, oh, thanks. That will be actually super useful. I'm going to present you like how we make basically guess the answer and how we turn this into a hit. Of course, it's a trivia, so this is why we come up to that presentation, how to make your trivia game a hit, basically. So, I will just. Is this working actually? It's not working. Like, that's. Oh. No, it's not working. Definitely not. Maybe I'm just. Okay, now it's good. I think. Maybe I was pushing on the wrong button, but that's okay. So we will go through the concepts, the ideation concept, the ideation process, how we made this game basically. Then how we did improve the game so that we can reach like good KPIs and monetize the game on a good way, you know. And also, of course, this is something that we all face when we publish game. We're gonna deep dive into the challenge that we faced during the development time and also during, you know, all the phase after the launch actually. So, first of all, the concepts. What happened is in late 2020, we had a studio that we were working with that proposed us a concept that was about the Family Feud concept that you may know for sure. It's a famous TV show in the US. And immediately we were like, yeah, this is a really good idea, but we have to make it hyper-casual actually, because when you look at the stores, you have a lot of Family Feud like casual and mid-core games, and we didn't want it to go into that. So we were like, okay, let's do that. When we did a small benchmark, we saw that on hyper-casual market, there was no good Family Feud game, kinda. So we're like, we have to do something there. So we start brainstorming a bit the concepts, and at this time, there are like a lot of games, you know, with the keyboard, such as like Type Run, of course. And those games were super trendy. I think there are like 50 games popping around in and out. Not all of them were hits for sure, but this was the trend. So we're like, okay, we have the Family Feud game, so we call it super early guess the answer. But we were struggling between, you know, do we make a multiple choice question game or something a bit more engaging? And we feel like the keyboard stuff would be making a great game quite easily. So that's why we go to that direction. We feel like it was more engaging and it will give more freedom to users at the end of the day. Just for the quick story, we did some few A/B tests at the very beginning, even with the very early build, so that we can measure either the multiple choice or either the keyboard will work better or not. And it turned out that the keyboard it was a no-brainer at the end of the day. So we picked this, and we're like, okay, now we have a strong game. Now we're gonna get this game work actually. Of course, you have these concepts. You start like plugging some different questions. You're like, okay, I'm just gonna take some super famous question from the game Family Feud at the end of the day. But then you start to be, you know, you reach a kind of spot where you're like, I had a good game, but I want to improve it even better. So that's what you start to do. Of course, as a trivia, those games need to have like a lot of content, and I think this is the most like excruciating thing with a trivia game actually, because actually you have to put a lot of content when it comes to questions and answers. That's the first thing. So you add tremendous amount of questions because you want to get this retention, this playtime that will be so helpful for your monetization. Then you start to think, okay, it's a trivia, I can add many things into the game. You add tournaments, you add like things to reward the players actually, different skins, different shop and stuff. And this is how you start to building your game. And of course, on a trivia game, it's kind of different from a classic runner game where you would, like, for example, take, I don't know, 2 weeks to 1 month to do a complete game. On a trivia game, you always have to keep on improving, keep on adding content. So just to say that, so here at this stage, we already get a good product. We had like a 17 cents CPI, around 40% day 1 retention, and a retention day 7 between 15 to to 18, around-ish. So we already have a good product, and we are still improving it for the launch. Then, you want to keep on analyzing the content that you bring into the game. Because, for sure, on a trivia game, you're going to have content like questions and different possibilities as answers. But you want to analyze super quickly if the question that you are actually bringing into your game will be good quality of question, basically. So what you do is you're going to analyze the specific question that you add and see on two ways, that's on two specific directions, on the CPI and also on the churn, basically. So what we did is, it's super easy with those kind of games. Once you already have the CPI, what we try to do is just to iterate on the question. Of course, you can put, as you can imagine, funny thing on the trivia cards. For example, name long objects, and you just put an eggplant emoji, for example, on the creatives. Those kind of things are working quite well, to be honest. So you want to try different things like this, things that are actually, that can be a bit clickbait, I would say, to the audience. And you want to test also on the users, actually, on the in-game metrics, just to see if, for example, this specific question, if you put them on the, if you put the first 20 questions as you think that you would put the game, if you will have more actually engagements than if you put those questions. So this is, you have to play with the actual content that you add and to analyze it day after day. Also, at some point, when the game is really good and you did improve the stats, you want to go extra. So you want to do much more deeper A/B tests when it comes to even adding some more content, adding the subscription system, adding different rewarded, different things to deeply monetize your game. So that was the first big work that we did for, I think, the first 2 months, because again, on a trivia game, you keep on improving again and again, day by day. So, yeah, that's it. But when it comes to a trivia, especially the trivia that we release, Guess the Answer, we faced really lot of different challenges. So the first thing is the quality of the database. In our case, it's a bit specific because as it's not a multiple choice question, you want to have people writing down on a keyboard the answers to the question. So let's say you have a question which is name a yellow fruit. What you want to analyze is what people will actually reply the more often, basically. So you start to analyze this database, and as you can imagine, it's super time consuming. Because at the end of the day, most people will reply banana, lemon, lime, or whatever. But at some point, you will be like, okay, I got these 10 questions that are coming quite often, but I don't want to just limit the users to reply 10 questions only. I want to give them more freedom, because that was the motto of the production of this game. We wanted to give users freedom with the keyboard. So if tomorrow a user is selling for example, writing yuzu, which is a line in Japan, for example, what would be bad is if we just don't accept this word. So it was super time consuming to actually analyze the different questions and the impact on those different questions and the reply that users will gonna bring to the game. There is also something that we see super early into the game production, and for those type of trivia, at the end of the day, you don't want to be too specific. As a gamer, as someone that is mainly on the pop culture and everything, we were thinking super fastly of adding question about name, characters of Star Wars, Harry Potter, or things like this. Things that maybe in our industry, everyone knows Harry Potter, everyone knows Star Wars, everyone knows Game of Thrones, I think, in our industry. But we saw that at the end of the day, most of people were not replying to those questions. Sometimes they were just replying, I don't know, because this is something that is quite famous, but as you have a so big audience at the end of the day, people are just lost with those kind of contents. So you don't want to be too specific, you want to be broad. Like, if I take the example back of name a yellow fruit, I think everyone on the world can reply to those kind of questions. If you want to take another question that works super well is, what are you doing before going to bed? And you have like a big spectrum of answers that can be possible, and everyone can be able to reply that, no matter like the location of the people, like the ethnicity and everything. So it was really the thing, don't be too specific. As you can imagine, on a trivia game, there is a lot of challenges about localization. That's I think one of the easiest parts actually. Of course, we have to work with a localization company to be able to localize the game, but the game is a worldwide game. So we have to give them direction first, but also to give them all the knowledge that we have on the analysis of the content of our database so that it can keep on improving on their side. Because let's say in the US, if you ask someone, what is the most famous, I don't know, breakfast meal? They will maybe reply, I don't know, coffee. While in France, maybe, I will reply croissant. So the thing is, it will be super harsh for you, at least for this kind of game, to match exactly with your audience on the world. So that's why the localization has to be just the translation part, but not only. It was also a matter of trying to see on the different cultures and adapt on the different question and answer that we should propose to users, basically. So really, on that part, it was super heavy. Of course, we managed to overcome this challenge so far. So yeah, database quality versus location, that's what I was obviously talking about. Also, all the games, so it's not something that is related to trivia games, but it's something that is related actually to games that have an actual keyboard. As you can imagine, if you're on the development side, there are a lot of issues with the keyboard itself. Either you go native with the native keyboard of iOS, Android. iOS is always the easy part because, of course, iOS keyboards are quite common. But when it comes to Android, then you have some issues because you have so many disparities on Android when it comes to the different devices. So it can be harsh to get the right keyboard that will please to people actually. So if you want to go native, then it's okay. If you want to design your own keyboard, you have to match exactly the right keyboard for the different location as well. And of course, it was a challenge for the localization because, like, I think the keyboard that we use in France or in the US, those are quite straightforward. But if you start getting some different languages, for example, for Chinese, for Vietnamese, and so on and so on and so on, you have like specific words, specific letters, that were a bit harsh to implement to the keyboard thing. So this is really a big challenge on all the keyboard games. And for example, in the case of Android, we saw that Voodoo didn't release Type Run on Android at all because of those issues. It's something that we were like, that would be a shame that we didn't manage to release this game on Android. So we tried to, it took time, but at the end of the day, we were like, no, we have really to put this game on Android and to overcome those issues. So I think that would be the main challenges that we faced during the production phase. And we are still, of course, facing those challenges because we are still working on the game. The idea is not to let the game, but still adding content and everything. So, in conclusion, just to be quite straightforward, when you do a trivia game, you want to be innovative. Of course, like on trivia game, you will say, yeah, but there is a lot of a trivia game on the market. It's hard to, make my game. But no, at the end of the day, you just have to find the right spot, the sweet spot, and be innovative with the concept, but on the approach that you put on the gameplay. Because a family field is not innovative at all. I think you all agree on that. But a family field where you put the keyboard thing, where you let the people the freedom, this is innovative actually. Think deeply about your gameplay, keyboard, the way we make the game, basically, and also take into account the multiple challenges, specifically on the trivia. It will be heavy content-based game. Localization will be super heavy if you want to make your game worldwide, of course. And I think this is a good idea, actually. Database optimization, because you want to keep on analyzing your database and get the right question, the right content, so that you can maximize your retention and your playtime. And also, for specific game with keyboard, potential keyboard issue, that you always have to think about it quite early, because if not, I think it will be a big mess. So that's it on my side, and I think we can go to the Q&A session if you guys have questions. Yep.
Yeah, I'm curious about. Hi everyone, my name is Cameron.
Hello.
Thank you for your speech. I'm very curious about the question, about the part where you said the fruit in Japanese. If it's not a secret, what was the solution to that problem?
So, basically, what we did is something that we call a tagging system, basically, where we were into the database analyzing the more frequent answers into different locations, basically. So, as you can imagine, it's quite time-consuming. And what we did is we hired different people as a freelance so that they can analyze that faster for us. And then we were seeing, for example, the 20 most common questions in Japan, 20 most common questions in the US, and so on and so on and so on. And then we updated the database so that it can be matching with those questions, actually. And also, what we did is we let a freedom when it comes to the wrong grammar of the word, I would say. So that if people say banana with triple N, for example, then it's gonna match. So yeah, that's how we did it.
Thank you.
Right, any questions?
Thank you for the great speech. I have a question. In what terms are you working with the developers in terms of the publishing?
In what?
At what terms you are working between the developers and publisher as a publisher?
Yeah, so basically the developer made the game, and of course we help him improving the game on the game design side. So we started to analyze the different content of the game and so on and so on. And we did a classic, I would say, approach, publisher developer with a revenue share, if this is what you are asking. And then we help him, we give him support to adding content. For example, if you just want to go back, for example, on the content, this was one artist inside our house that made the different characters, for example, the different UI and so on and so on. So we did support him that way, and also on analyzing the content, and of course all the UI and monetization side, basically. So yeah, I would say the classic support from a publisher.
Great, thank you.
Any more
questions?
Okay then.
Thank you.
Someone?
First of all, thanks for your speech. My question is, how do you decide for the questions? Do you have another team for questions, or do you take the questions from somewhere else?
To be straightforward and super honest, at the beginning, we started with just typing on Google, family food question. That's what we did at the very beginning. And we took a shitload of questions, but the thing is, some questions were specifically dedicated to the US, because the US show at the end, so we wanted to adapt them a bit so it can be a bit more generic and broader to the audience, basically. And then, of course, we had some more questions that were coming from, I would say, our mind, our team. We just had fun, to be honest, on adding some content, because we were feeling like, this is a question game, so sometimes I was like, oh, this question might be interesting, let's try it. So yeah, that's how we did it, basically.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay. There is one last question.
I just wonder, how was the first ideation with the studio? I mean, you made lots of changes to make the TV show into a super hyper casual game. Who did the magic touch in those ideations? Or the studio was like, there is a TV show like this, we can make it a good, truly hyper casual game. But who was the that does those magic touches?
To be honest, it was mainly a collaboration. Like the studio came, he proposed the idea, and the thing that we always do as a publisher, we want to support the team of developers. We're like, okay, this idea is great, how can we improve it? And we were just benchmarking with the studio actually, and we find that the type thing, we said, maybe it can be interesting, because we tested different gameplays at the beginning, and we wanted to, to just try the best thing that we could sort of this game. And this is something that we always do on our side. We always try, to bring some ideation as well. We believe that at the end of the day, ideation is a process where people are, like exchanging ideas. So the thing is, we just don't want to bring our ideas and say, yeah, that's the truth. The thing is, we just collaborate and see what we can take the best from the concept, basically. So yeah.
Right, any other questions? All right then, thank you, Kinsey.